I'm Kevin Watson, and I'm a bricolier. A bricolier is someone who creates bricolage. Bricolage is a French term, and it means to remix, reconfigure, take parts from different items and combine something new. I grew up on a dairy farm, but I am very much a design fan. I read Architectural Digest, I read Elle Decor. I would say that my studio really is my happy place, and having a studio in my home is really wonderful. Just being in the environment is pleasing to me. I think it's a mistake to wait for inspiration. I think you have to create your inspiration. And I can be sitting on a bench in a park, and it may look like I'm meditating, but I'm actually constructing something in my mind or trying to solve some sort of problem or decide on the better way of putting something together. Sometimes if I'm trying to think of a new project, I think of a title first. Then I think, how do I create something that's going to express that title? For a metaphysical concept, for example, time jumping, I think about that. How do I express time jumping? Or healing generational trauma. A lot of my pieces have some hidden engineering. They may look very simple on the outside, but I've spent hours trying to decide how to best assemble them where they'll last for decades. I look for interesting things whenever I'm out. If I go to a flea market, or actually I found some of my best materials just going on for walks out on hiking trails in the wilderness. You'll find discarded pieces of metal. I have lots of favorite materials. I like vintage leather. I've used vintage saddlebags that were used on horseback. I like vintage brass that has patina on it, vintage copper. I think that adds a lot of richness to it. Sometimes I might go the other way and go for something very highly polished. I like to combine different textures. The juxtaposition of the different ones, I think, makes things interesting. I've wanted to incorporate a little bit more technology into some of my work, but I want it to be hidden. I don't want it to be obvious, so it's a bit of a surprise to the viewer. Right now I have a show on Canyon Road, which has been on my bucket list for a long time. Santa Fe is such a popular art destination. I always thought that would mean I've accomplished something. The more time someone spends viewing one of my pieces, the more they get out of it. I also like to leave things a little bit ambiguous or to appear slightly unfinished, so the viewer also becomes an artist by finishing the story or the piece in their mind. Doing bricolage is like writing poetry. You're taking materials that were never meant to be put together, but you're assembling them in something entirely new with a different meaning. The same way with words. You're borrowing words that weren't necessarily meant to be together or thought to be together, but you're creating something entirely new with a different meaning. And for me, deciding if I use a round head brass screw versus an Allen screw or some other type is almost like, do I use a semicolon, a colon, a line break? So I think there's a lot of similarities.